minutes. I've observed Trump very carefully, and I call him with a lot of affection and respect. I call him McDonald Trump. But he's a dandewala, no? He's a businessman. And the baron of business is now dealing with the Nawab of negotiation, a fellow called Narendra Bhai Damodar Das Modi, who's a Gujarati. He has dhanda in his genes. He knows how to negotiate. Trump even said that Prime Minister Modi was a tough negotiator and much better than him, which he acknowledged, which is quite an admission coming from a narcissistic personality of the kind that Donald Trump had. With Iran, what is America's problem with Iran? Was Iran involved in the 9/11 attacks? No. It was Saudi Arabians, the fellows from Saudi Arabia who did it. They were trained in Pakistan, etc. The Taliban was involved, etc. But not Iran. So what is his problem with Iran? It's a manufactured problem. And the real issue there is Iran's hostility towards Israel. What is the hostility? Because the Iranian leaders, some of them are very stupid. I've known a few of them. Israel has no right to exist. Why not, Tiger? No, it doesn't, because it was foisted on us, etc. Then they talk about all kinds of things, about the what was that, the Balfour Declaration and the Sykes-Picot Agreement, etc., that led to the creation of Her Majesty's government, or His Majesty's, I don't know, at that time it was his or her, viewing with favor the creation of a Jewish state in the Middle East, etc. So Iran's argument, which they borrowed from the Arabs, was, all right, you want to atone for your persecution of the Jews. They're telling the Europeans, you feel bad that that shitty Hitler did what he had to, etc., etc. You feel bad, they'll put them somewhere in Africa or in Latin America. Why on our land? So that's an argument that goes back 10,000 years. We can keep talking about it. So Trump doesn't have an issue with Iran per se. What he wants is Iran should live in peace with Israel, should not be a threat. Because if Iran does make a bomb, the only nation that it can threaten, or that will feel threatened, is Israel. Not too long ago, Israel carried out air raids and they degraded significantly Iran's bomb-making capability. They had done this with Iraq. Israel had done this some years ago. I think it was called the Osirak reactor. And they completely obliterated Shri Saddam Hussein's nuclear program. They will do it because for them it's a matter of survival. Now, take the case of Syria. Syria had been a sworn enemy, that buffoon who ran off to Moscow when things went bad for him, Bashar al-Assad, whom I've met, by the way. Fine chap, great doctor, etc., but no idea of international relations. Now, he was an inveterate enemy of Israel. Now, the terrorist who was leading Israel suddenly becomes a darling, handsome young man. Trump goes to him, my darling, my sweetheart, lifts all the sanctions and gives him a lot of money. So he has neutralized Syria. He has neutralized Libya as far as Israel is concerned. Gaddafi also used to be a staunch opponent dedicated to the destruction of Israel. Sudan is facing severe civil war. They can't do anything. So there's nobody left in the Middle East to take on Israel. Well, the Houthis keep firing a few missiles here and there, but that doesn't really matter. The only country that matters is Iran. And therefore, Trump will try to win them over, to make a deal with Iran. The deal will be, you want the bomb? All right, make a low yield, some kind of nonsense to satisfy your own people. Make a little bomb, a bomblet kind of thing that goes poof, but nothing really happens. And in return, I'll lift all the sanctions, I'll give you money. And as it was during the time of the Shah of Iran, when, he used to get all this oil money after 1973, that buffoon, that clown. And he ordered from the United States military equipment that the Americans hadn't even manufactured. And he would just say, whatever you make, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give me all these planes, give me all your guns, give me all your tanks, give me all your ships. And the American, I remember, I think it was Robert McNamara or somebody used to be American Secretary of State. He used to joke that, we've got this clown over there. It's great. We can make all these weapons, all these patakas, and give it to him to try it out. What was Iran's interest at that time? He wanted to be the gatekeeper of American interests in the Indo-Pacific region. Of course, the Shah was booted out, and ultimately he went around running from one Islamic country to another. And they all said, Shah of Iran, yeah, that's somewhere near South Africa, right? Never heard of you, character, get lost. Finally went to the Bahamas, landed his plane there, paid them some $1 million, and then they also booted him out. And he couldn't go anywhere. I think ultimately he went to Morocco. The Moroccan king took pity on this fellow and said, all right, come and you can die here. And he died. I don't know where his bones are. So with Iran at the moment. It's a large country, it's a strong country, they have a military, their ability to take punishment has been demonstrated time and again. On the other hand, the Americans have also said that we can pick your chaps at will, like they did with that Soleiman, whatever his name was, Qasami or something like that. They eliminated this fellow while he was in Iraq. Now, my feeling is that America under McDonald Trump will make a deal. You make up with Israel. You come out with a public declaration. The Israelis are the best people in the world. I love you, my darlings, my sweethearts. And in return, I lift the sanction. Because Iran's economy is tanking, man. They are suffering badly. I have Iranian friends. And, it's come to a time as it was once with Sri Lanka, where I had some very close friends, senior military officers in Sri Lanka, telling me, Mr. Ambassador, if you're visiting us, can you bring some dal and rice for our children? They were reduced to that stage. And I'm talking of about a year and a half or 2 years ago. The Iranians are in that stage too. They may not say it because it's closely controlled. But by and large, the people of Iran, those who take to the streets, they don't like the mullahs. What have the mullahs given them? Whatever the Shah did, he was a terrible chap, bad fellow, dictator, etc. But there was peace. I mean, they fought that war after the Shah left, the Iran-Iraq war. During the Shah's time, there was relative peace. They went around doing what they were doing. There was corruption, etc. But prices were affordable. It was later that the chickens came home to roost when the prices started going up, and he didn't get the support he was getting from the United States, etc. So therefore, my feeling, man, is that Donald Trump is upending the global international system. He will make a deal. Take it from me. And the deal will be Israel is there to stay. There was a time during the Shah's period, I have done it. You could fly from Tehran to Tel Aviv. There were direct flights. And the Iranians used to run off to get drunk and have fun in all the Israeli nightclubs. I've seen that. In the course of my life, I've been 52 years in diplomacy. I've served in that area. They will make up. They don't have any. The people of Iran have no hostility towards the people of Israel. It's just the leadership, the mullah leadership. Once this leadership goes, take it from me, matters will be sorted out. And I think while talking to the mullahs about nuclear stuff and so on, saying, okay, if you make a tiny little bomb, I won't be upset, he'll be working to boot them out. I see that coming.